The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
You go?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, good morning, everyone, or afternoon, wherever you may be. Thank you for attending the ProjectSight live demonstration today and Q&A. My name is Jesse Hooper. I am the Regional Sales Manager for the ProjectSight product here in the Central Region. We also have Jimmy Getz with me. He is our Solution Engineer for the ProjectSight product, and he will be walking you through the demonstration today of ProjectSight. So just before we get started, we do have a couple housekeeping items we like to go over. Throughout the webinar, we invite you to ask questions. We want to make sure that your questions are answered as well. So if you could please use the GoToWebinar control panel on the right hand of your screen, I believe, to input your questions. We'll be monitoring that throughout the demonstration, and we'll have some breaks between the different modules to answer those, and so hopefully some time at the end. Also, this webinar will be recorded and accessible on demand, and you should receive an email most likely tomorrow with the link so that you can go back and reference this webinar if you would like to. And finally, there will be some intermittent survey or polling questions throughout the demonstration today, and we encourage you to participate. We'd love to hear your answers. And then finally, like I said in the beginning, at the end of this demonstration, we should have some time to address some of your questions at the end. So what will we be covering today? First, we're going to take you through the homepage of the ProjectSight platform and go through things such as the security roles, the access, the help section, and just an overall orientation of the homepage. And then finally, or then after that, we'll move into the drawing section. We'll talk about uploading process, our OCR technology, how to mark up drawings, and how drawings are able to attach to other records. We'll also touch on our Trimble Connect product, which is our model viewing platform that is included with ProjectSight. And then from there, we'll go into the document control. And document control is what we consider document control are things such as RFIs, meeting minutes, and submittals. Move into field management, which consists of checklists, daily reports, and punch list items. And then finally, we'll wrap up with our budget and cost modules, which we'll talk about budget overview, our contracts, and our change order process. So I will turn the time over to Jimmy Getz to get started with the demonstration. And again, if you have any questions, please input them into the chat. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. And welcome, everyone. So my name is Jimmy Getz. I am a sales engineer at ProjectSight. So I'm going to walk through the product here. The first thing I'm going to do is log in. So I'm just going to go to projectsight.trimble.com, go to my client login, and log into the system. Now from there, as you can see, I'm logged in as Jack Clifton. He's my project manager for a number of different projects, and he's my example that I'm going to show you today. Now, Jack Clifton is one individual within the organization, but we can have multiple different types of security roles, types of users in the system, from internal foremen, supervisors, all the way to outside of the organization, such as any kind of subcontractor who needs to collaborate upon any type of record in the system. And these are all controlled through our very granular administrative rights, where we can select different users to have different access to different complete modules, or all the way down to a specific field on a record type. And I'll explain a little bit more as we go. What we're looking at here is the portfolios. Now, a portfolio is a way we're grouping projects together. So if we look at our commercial division, it's made up of any number of projects in here. Now, the benefit there of having a portfolio level is you can push down security roles, companies, user list throughout the projects inside that portfolio. So it helps organize the data a little bit better. And any new projects you can create from a template of an existing project. Now this screen here is what I call a log screen in ProjectSight, and it allows you to view the data in a number of ways. We can do a tile view like you saw there, or I can actually view a list view that's going to give me more of the metadata behind the scenes here. And then on the right-hand side, I can filter and sort based upon different aspects of the data to filter out my list here. And then at any time, I can group and sort throughout the product, and I can save my view, so I can always go back to a specific view that I created. And this is relevant because this is the consistent look and feel whenever we're looking at, say, RFIs that you'll see later, punch items, change management. It all has a similar log view layer, is what I call it. So let's go down to our project. We're going to go to the University Student Union and Wellness Center. So each of these projects has a project homepage that's going to give the user some high-level metrics around this project. So these are widgets here in the center. And these can be created or added right to the dashboard. So we have a number of preset ones in here, but you can certainly create your own throughout the product. And these allow for quick access to information. So for example, here I have 33 punch items overdue. If I want to go to that list, I can click on that button and it'll give me a pop-up where I can dive into an individual item, or I can go to that full punch list within the system. So nice quick navigation. Above that is our project details, right? We also have our project team contact list. And then on the right-hand side are all the assignments that have been assigned to this user. And then as well, because we have multiple different users, different companies involved in the projects, you can set it up so that a user can see all of the assigned records or items directed to their company. So a nice way to configure that. And then we have an overdue section on the right-hand side. Now above that, we have our project details to edit those. We also have our project settings. So I'm just going to open up this real quick here just to show you the amount of control that you have with the configuration of ProjectSight. So we're at the project level, but I can manage the users. I can set up different companies, different distribution lists. I can even get down into specific record types, and RFIs would be a good example here, where I can change the nomenclature throughout the product. I can change the workflow, and specifically on record types, you can change and configure default assignees. So we allow Jack as a project administrator to have control over all of the settings within that project. And typically those are granted to just a few individuals, but we do allow our clients to have access to that without coming to us to make any major changes. Now on the left-hand side, we have our different modules. So we have our drawings and specifications, which is made up of our drawing sets and drawings, as well as specifications. And I'm going to start off in the drawings module here in a second. The next level is our budget and cost piece. So these are all the record types that make up budget and cost. We have our budget and contracts. We can do cross forecast or cash flow. Then we have our change management piece. And then we have our actual costs, which is our invoices, expenses, and applications to payment. And we'll talk a little bit about the budget and the change management later at the end. The doc control, these are all the records that make up the doc control piece. We have action items, issues, meeting minutes, RFIs, submittals, and transmittals. So we're going to focus on today RFIs, meeting minutes, and submittals. On the field side, checklists and daily reports, kind of the main pieces here, but we also have these other types of records you can collect data on. And then of course, we have a punch list. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail later. We have a file library, so you can store project-related files within a organized manner. These can be shared out to the project team. And then this model link goes out to Trimble Connect, which is a model viewing software. It comes included with ProjectSight, and it allows for sharing of the 3D model. It also contains a document storage area as well, so I can point out a little bit of that. The last piece is the external links, which allows you just to go ahead and link to a different piece of software within the project. Maybe it's the pipe project link you want to create in there. So that's our high level homepage. Do we have any questions coming in, Jesse?
Yeah, Jimmy, no questions as of yet, but I think this is a good time for us to do maybe a quick poll. So let me go ahead and just launch that.
Not yet. I think we're going to wait on that, but.
Oh, we're going to wait?
We could do that. Yeah, we could do that one. That's
the
fine.
model ones, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
'Cause I know you touched on the models. So we'll just put this poll up real quick. And we're just curious to know if you guys use models on your projects in the field. Jimmy did mention Triple Connect, which is our model viewing platform. It is included with ProjectSight at no additional cost. And it's actually a pretty robust platform. So I encourage you to look it up on the web if you want to learn more. Just a few more seconds here. Looks like give it one more second. Looks like most everyone responded. Go ahead and close that. We appreciate that. So it looks like 50% said no. They are not using models in the field. So interesting.
Okay, so 50% do?
Do not. But
okay.
the rest do know, but they want to.
Okay. Yeah, so we can talk a little bit about that and point out why that's beneficial with the connection with ProjectSight. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our drawings piece here, and I'll start at the upload process, just uploading a PDF drawing. Now this drawing that I'm going to upload, or this process, can handle a single PDF with a single drawing on it, or multiple pages with multiple different sheets. And the system will read that and be able to split those out appropriately. So I'm going to grab one to show you kind of what the process is. We use some OCR technology. So what I need to do to upload this is I'll go ahead and turn this button on. It's going to allow me to read the callouts within the drawing, so I can link these drawings together, the A202 along with the A501, and I'll show you how that works when we're viewing the model or the drawing. And then I can highlight the drawing here in the drawing block, or the title block, the sheet, title, revision date. I'm just going to change that to today. And then a couple other fields here we can distinguish this drawing set in. All right. Now I'll go ahead and click next and process that. And what the system's going to do is pull that metadata out of that drawing where I highlighted it. It's going to land in this grid. And then at this point, I can go ahead and browse and add either the rest of my set in if they're single pages, or if it was a multiple page PDF, it would split all those out into different sheets. So there's my two that I uploaded in here. And I can see based upon the revision date, these are going to be new current versions of these drawings. And if I need to manage this process, I can go into the drawing here and I can make a comment or assign that out to a team member at this point. But let's assume everything's good. So we'll go ahead and publish those, and we'll head back over to our drawings area where we can view those and the team can collaborate upon those. I'll click on my drawings. It's going to load up my list. And a couple things to note here, I can download these drawings. I can download the as-builts. It's going to zip up all these files together. In a zip file, I can include any links or records that you'll see in a second, any files. So you have that capability as well. And if we click into one of these drawings, we can see what's happening on this drawing, if there are any records attached, if there's any annotations. And at the very top, you can see as it loads, it says this is the current version. So I'm well aware that I'm on the current version. I'm not on an older version of the drawing. Sorry, just zooming out of there a little bit. And if I needed to select a different version, I've got the option here within the toolbar to go back to a previous version. Another thing to note there is I can overlay drawings on top of each other, either different revisions of the drawing or different drawings all together. So we have overlay functionality as well. Now, in the center here, you'll see the drawing with all of these different colors and letters. These are different types of records. So the P's are the punch items. This is a checklist. This is an RFI. These are issues. So the way I did that is I used my toolbar on the left-hand side. A toolbar allows me to draw, cloud the areas like you see, do different shapes. This is a link icon, so these are the quick links to quickly add, right, a preset record of punch for that example. And then we have text to create some text on the drawing. And then towards the bottom here, we have our measurement tools, so I can take some different measurements as well within the drawing once I calibrate that. So let me show you how to quickly create an area or cloud an area and then create a record around that. So I'll cloud my area, I'll click my link icon, and that now brings up the different options on what I want to do here. Do I want to tag an image to it, a file, another drawing, a specification, or a record type, right? As well, we have model view and a web link. So if I click on the record type, that brings up a secondary menu that shows me all the different record types in the system, right? And so I'll just click RFI, and now I can click create. And that will open up our side panel here, and we'll go through this in a little bit more detail in the RFI section, but this is keeps me on the drawing where I can quickly add in RFIs or punch items without going back into my punch list or back into my RFI list. I don't ever leave the drawing, so it's got a nice functionality there to keep you where you are. One thing to point out here, I'll show you a model link to the drawing. So here is an issue. If I open this up, I can see that there's been a number of different comments, a number of different attachments around this issue. There's an image, there's another drawing, and then here's a model view. So if I click on that model view, that will send me over to Trimble Connect, where I will be able to view that specific section of the model that I've tagged. It'll take a second to load here, but this is viewing the Trimble Connect. Here's all the different views, the different snapshots of the model that I took. And I pinned one of these models to ProjectSight so that all the team members within ProjectSight have the ability to see that model data. Within Trimble Connect, it can handle a lot of that metadata behind the scenes. So here's that view, and I can navigate around, pan and zoom, right? And then if I want to click on any of these elements, I can do that. I can click my info tab, which is going to bring up that metadata. So a lot of options there for those people on the call who want to use models and they don't quite know how yet, but ProjectSight gives you the ability there to load in those models into Trimble Connect and then distribute them out to your team through ProjectSight. And Trimble Connect is extensive. It's got a lot of different markup tools as well for the 3D model. I can take different views as you've seen. I can also do a little to-do list, and then I can really dig into the data behind this model to understand and organize that data for either building from the model or just looking at the model from a perspective of checking on an issue. Okay, I think that I covered everything on the drawing side. Are there any questions?
Just looking at the chat now, Jimmy, here's one question. What about photos? Are we able to attach photos to drawings?
Yep, you can attach photos. It'd be easier on the iPad, which I don't have connected right now, but when I'm on the iPad and I go to the drawing, when I click that link icon, right, on the web, I can just upload the photo. On the iPad, it's a open camera roll or attach photo. So it's got that functionality there. And then I see another question in here around customizing the title sections, right, on what we call punch or snag and RFIs. So that's on the nomenclature side as a administrative control. So you can update any of the verbiage within the product. So if I don't like how this says drawings, I can change that to say something else. I can also, when I get down into the field level, I can change the name of this location. I can also change, drop down list and so forth throughout the process. And then there was a question around what programs used to create the model. There's a ton of different programs, right? So I showed you a Tekla file, but you can do Revit, the Autodesk files as well. We do have some plugins that can pull that data from those systems directly into Trimble Connect, but certainly we can have further conversations about that. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the document control piece. And these are the different items. So I wanted to start at the RFI section, but keep in mind, issues, action items, RFIs, punch, safety notices, all of the records have similar workflows. So I go into that record type, I land on the view screen, right? I'm looking at a filtered view of open RFI logs, right? That's a preset option that I had. And at this point, if I need to either run a report or send that data in an email to somebody, I can do that. So in ProjectSight, we have over 350 different types of reports that are preset to deliver the capability to export out the data either in an email, PDF, or an Excel file. And I just want to show you a quick example of that before I dive into the creation of that RFI. And all of this can be configured with the logo at the top, and data can be really customized on where it goes within that, within this report. So summary log with answers is what I chose, so it's going to give me that list that we were looking at, as well as some of the data that I pulled in, question and the answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and click our plus icon and create a new RFI. So the first thing you'll see is that drop down on the status, right? What is the workflow that this RFI or this record needs to go through? This is all configurable at the record type, as well as the drop downs on what I want this to be. Maybe it's an electrical issue. And I can take it to a location. And I have all of my RFIs auto-assigned. I can do that at a single individual level, or I can do that at a group level and then assign it to multiple people automatically. Then I can ask my RFI question. And then at this point, I can attach an image or a file, any supplemental materials as necessary, and then I can save it. And that's our quick input field. Now, if I want to open it up, I can see now the actions that happen inside this RFI. So within our records, we have our comments tab. That's a main feature that allows for that communication between Jack and Sarah, as well as anybody else who needs to address this. And when Sarah got this notification assigned, she gets a notification email. And I'm going to pull that up right now. So notification comes in. Hey, Sarah, you have an RFI assigned to you. Here's the project. Here's the RFI number. Here is the details of that RFI. In this case, this is just a new comment one. So let me go back. Here we go. Details of the RFI, right? My question, the most recent comment, any linked files associated with that. And then now the person who gets this notification, who gets this assigned RFI, can reply with a comment as well as an attachment, and they can just send that off in their email. And we're going to know who they are, and we're going to attach that in the comment section as a new block. So those individuals that are outside of the organization or reluctant to log into a system, they can reply with an email, and you can still capture that at the record level. Now, that person can also just click this link to log in to get into that record to make those comments, and they'll land directly in here, or they can go ahead and do that inside the system. But we allow for that capture outside of a login. Okay, now at this point, I have a couple other tabs at the top, depending on the record type. Impact tab. We have additional information where I can include any other types of user-defined fields, any other data that I want to collect at this record level, I can include there. And then we have our history tab that shows all of the various actions that have been created or changed within the system. I'm just going to go into an open one real quick here, as I wanted to show you a little bit more of that history. And that's not the right one. So once I have an answer, right, I can log it as the answer. So I'm going to demote this one right now, but if this is the response and that's the correct answer for this RFI, then I can promote that. When I go ahead and close this RFI, all of the communication, all of those comments disappear, and all I'm left with is my question and my answer. So a nice clean look and feel once that RFI is closed or any record is closed. Okay, and I can reassign it to individuals utilizing this quick area over here where I can change the due dates on individuals. I can add additional assignments. I can also courtesy copy as necessary. Okay, that's RFIs. And keep in mind that process is very similar to the rest of the items in here. So ProjectSight has a consistent look and feel throughout the process. The meeting minutes. So we'll go ahead and open an existing meeting minute. Now, I created this meeting minute from a previous meeting minute. So in that process, I've been able to carry over my attendee list. I've been able to carry over different items within that. So here are my item list for this meeting. If I need to make some notes at that specific item, I can do that. If I need to make a comment, as you see in this blue box, there's a comment at this level here on this item. And also at the item level, you can assign specific items out. So if I have an action item for somebody, I can assign it right at that item level for that individual to respond to. When I want to create the next meeting, instead of recreating this meeting, I can just simply click to add my previous meeting's agenda. And if I need to remove something or add something, I can do that as well. Once these people are assigned to this meeting, you can send them out in that notification of a meeting, the meeting minutes attached. You can run a report to be included in that notification out to that team member so that they don't need to click into here. They can see that information within the report that's attached to that invitation. Okay. All right, and then the last section on the document control is the submittal side. So there's two areas. There's submittal packages, which is a way to group submittals together and assign them out in bulk, right? And then they all land in our submittal list. So the relationship between those two is everything gets loaded up into the submittal side, but you can always group them together as necessary. So let's open one of these up and we can see some of the details here. So on the right-hand side, we have our input fields. Right, it changes from record to record. So in this one case, we've got spec section, we've got different types of statuses. We've got a submittal package that's not included in here, but if we did, it would appear here. We also have our subcontractor, and then we have our direct assignments for the record. In the center here, we have our comments tab, which allows us to attach those files for review. And then in that process as well, we have a PDF markup capabilities to mark up that PDF within here. Included is a tracking tab that allows for those dates, tracking dates to be inputted. And then of course, additional information as well on these records. Okay, any questions around the document control side?
Hey, Jimmy, there was one question. I did answer it in the chat, but maybe you can expand on it. The question is, if you are a third-party construction manager and send the RFI to the designer, can you document the back and forth conversation, basically between the construction manager and the designer in the RFI?
Yep, absolutely. So the control that you want to give is really dependent on the workflow, right? So if that's the part of the workflow, then you would allow that subcontractor or that construction manager to be able to assign this RFI out. And all of that will still be tracked at this record. So let's say, for example, Howard's done, Jack's done. Now I need to go ahead and send it off to Ann, who is the designer. I can go ahead and do that and save that record. Now Ann will get the notification, and everything's still tracked at that same RFI level. All right. Anything else?
No more questions.
All right. Now onto the field side. So these are our field records. Let's take a look at daily reports, and then we'll look at checklist and then punch. So a quick example of the daily report here. And I'm going to turn off my camera because it seems to be slowing down my internet. Okay, so here are the list of dailies. I'm just going to select one so you can see an example of a completed daily report. We have connected to a weather station. We can pull weather or manually input the weather, as well as any notes. On the labor side, we have a number of different companies we're tracking at that day, right? I can go ahead and add new labor very quickly, right, by selecting my company and my crew, right? This is all set up in the company level on the project side, on the settings side. Now, let's say that I have the same crew that was here yesterday. Well, I can also just copy labor from a previous day, right? So these guys were here yesterday. I can go ahead and add them in, change the hours as necessary and add them in. Similarly, we have the equipment side. So I can add equipment in here. And then I also have my notes section that allows me to capture progress photos, any checklist, any other records, any information in that kind of notes section at the bottom. And then once this is complete, I can go ahead and run my report, or I can submit that out to be signed as needed. On the checklist side, we can create a number of different types of forms and checklists within the system. It's the fields that you can add in here, and I'll just choose a material receiving report. But as you can see, there's QA, QC, there's safety. There's a lot of different ones in here, but these filter down from project to project as well in that portfolio level. So they're always accessible. And just to point out, you can do text boxes, you can do date boxes, radio buttons, big text areas. You also have these pass-fail options. And then at each of these levels, right, I can go ahead and assign out to an individual. If I was doing a safety checklist and I came across a safety issue that I needed to make a note of, I can also click my link icon, which allows me to link this record with other records. And I can go down here and create a safety notice that would now be linked to this checklist. I think that's one of the highlights of ProjectSight is the ability to link different records together. And as I get to the budget and cost, I'll show you how you can look at a subcontract change order and you can go back and see, okay, how did this get created? Was this from an issue, from an RFI? And you've got all that history linked together within that single subcontract change order. The punch side, very similar to the RFI list, right? A little bit more statuses involved here in this demo site, but same concept there. You can be walking around the building, you got your iPad out or iPhone out, and you're taking pictures, or you can do it from a drawing and loading in those punch items, configuring that as whatever type you want, assigning it out either automatically or on the fly. And then of course you have your list where you can filter down just to look at, in this case, the opens. Okay, any questions on the field side? I see a couple in there. Can an RFI be sent concurrently to multiple reviewers? Yes. You can assign them out to multiple different individuals. And for daily reports, is there an approval workflow? There is. There wasn't on that daily, but there is the ability to have that approval. And then as well, on the checklist side, there is the approval tab at the top. I don't have any approvals in here, but you can set it to have the project manager approve it or the project engineer role approve that. Okay, we're going to move on now to budget and cost. And I think we have a quick poll question to launch.
Yeah, we do. So the poll question is, set it up right now.
I just launched it.
Oh, you did. I just closed.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that, Jimmy.
Well, we closed it, but the question was, which ERP accounting solution are you guys using? And really, the question is trying to get to the fact that ProjectSight can work with different ERPs. We have integrations, and so when we're talking about the budget and cost, and I'm just going to get right into it because we're running a little short on time, and I want to make sure we cover this. So the different areas of budget and cost, right? Everything starts with that high-level budget, and how that budget gets populated and how the data gets in there there's a few different ways, right? This can be just added manually. That's not the typical process. What the typical process is, we create your budget code structure based upon mimicking either the ERP, wherever you would like, based on, we have 9 different code levels we can do, right? And so once you have that set up, then you can just simply import the budget. So that process is a export of an Excel file and then a re-importing of that Excel file. And the reason within our import-export functionality in the product, and that's RFIs and punch items and everything that you can import-export, we need to export out the correct format. So that's why we provide you with a file and instructions to go ahead and drop that data in there and then re-import it. Now, if you are connected through an API to an ERP, right, whether that's Viewpoint or Sage or any number of them, then we can pull that data in directly. And the data can flow back and forth between those two systems so that your project teams can stay inside one system to manage those change orders. But as well, they still get the insights, as you'll see here, of the process, of the project cost and budget. So what we're looking at here is that budget. So we have our budget codes, our status, our description, and then our original budget, right? That's the start. Everything else from here is ongoing during the project. From the column level, well, first of all, at the top, we can see those high-level metrics, and then I can also search the budget. And I'm going to go down to row number 9 here. And we're going to talk through a couple of these columns here. So you see all of the data that we're collecting and the visibility that the project team has in the budget and cost. So we have our original budget, then we have our approved revisions, right? So the approved revisions are the approved change orders in the system, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But once they're approved, they are now calculated into our current budget. Then we have pending and approximate. Those are 2 different allocations of change orders. We need to keep track of those along with our current budget to make up our projected budget. And similarly, on the commitment side, we have our original commitments, which is, in the case here, our schedule of values for the contract, right, for this subcontract. Then we have our commitment changes. Those are the ones that are approved. We have non-committed changes in here we're tracking as well. And then we have our total cost right now. Then we have a couple of allocations for approximate and pending on the change management side, giving us a total projected cost of a certain amount. Now the actuals can be tracked as well within the system. So you can record contract invoices, you can do apps to payment, and you can get a little bit more insight into that as well. And if you're connected with an ERP, you can push this data into the system to be visible for the project team. If I want to look at a little bit more details of these items and what makes up this roll-up, I can click on my budget code, and I can now get the breakdown in a little bit easier view of the different items, the different transactions, either on the budget side in purple, the cost side in yellow, and then the actual in green. So as you can see, we've got a transfer between budget codes. We also have a contract in here on the commitment side. And we have a number of change orders, right? And the unique thing about our system is we can do change orders, a single change order. So this is change order number 5 across both the budget side and the cost side. Okay, so that's what you're seeing with that budget, with that change item. And then further down, we have the invoices that are going to go across into our green section, which is the actuals. Just to show you a contract example here, we're going to look at this subcontract. Now, our contracts module can create committing and non-committing contracts. Right? So you've got your non-committing prime contract or owner contract, and you have all of your various subcontracts. And there's different rules that can be applied to the contracts. This is a controlled total. So in order to update the value, I need a change. I have to do a change order. But there's other rules such as variable total, fixed cap, a couple different ones to help you in your billing management, so you don't want to overbill certain contracts. You can create some rules around that. And this is a contract piece here. We've got our general. We have our, of course, our comments tab. We have our amounts tab, which is the schedule of values that we can then bill off of and keep track of. And as you can see, there's some invoiced, there's some balances, there's some retainage, all of that information in there. And then we also have a change order tab that shows what approved subcontract change orders there are, 4 of them at the top. And then we have 2 of them that are in the process. One is a pending commitment, the other is an approximate commitment. And each of these items here has a little arrow that I can dive in deeper into that specific item. So let's actually go into one of these change orders here. And this is the navigation I went from the budget view into that budget code, into that contract, into the change order, into the potential change order. That's not the only way to do it. I can certainly go to the list of PCOs and pull up that list, but I wanted to show you there's different ways to navigate around, and the records are very interlinked together to allow for that, that connection. Now here's the change order. We have an owner change. It's assigned to Jack. Now we have our details section here with our different items, right? So I'm going to go ahead and open one of these up, and you can see we have the budget and the cost piece included in here. So in addition to the project management team, project manager going in here and creating this, I can also assign this out to Bob, who is a subcontractor, and I want him to reply through an email his bid, right, or his cost breakdown. He could do that through the email. We can capture that here, and then the PM can go ahead and update the proposed amount. Or you can have Bob come in here. You can put him in a subcontractor role and limit his ability to see any of the budget side, any of the cost side, except that proposed amount that he can input. And he is very limited on only seeing the assigned records to him, right? He can't see all the change orders. He's limited to the assigned ones to him, but it does give him the ability to help input the data for you as well. So on the budget side, we've estimated, we've attached to a budget code, and then on the cost side, we've gone ahead and entered that information in and haven't attached to a contract yet, but it would be attached to the contract for EE Blossom as the company. Okay, so now let me go back to our list here. I'm gonna go back one section here. So we talked about budget, we talked about contracts, right? Cost forecasts and purchase orders. We're not gonna talk about that today, but those are included. And then we have our change management. So the potential change order that you just saw, that lives in this potential change order log view, where I can filter and sort and view that based upon any number of fields from company to assignment to status. All right, once that change order has been completed, then I can do 2 things really. I can turn it into a subcontract change order, right? Or I can group it together with other potential change orders. And this is an optional piece here, and send that off to a change order request for the owner, right? And then I can also directly bypass the change order request and turn that change order into a prime contract change order. So you have the optional piece here to group them together. So if I wanted to go into the subcontract change orders, I'll go into my one that I've created, right? So I've got the information here on the right-hand side. I've got my potential change order items that I've included in here for this contract. Right, so I can split out those items within the potential change order into different subcontract change orders. And then I can go ahead and print this out to get a signature, get approval, and go ahead and mark this as. Right, so I can do details with signature, get my signature, go ahead and approve this once I get the signature back. And at that point, then my budget and cost piece will be reflected upon the budget. So my changes on the budget side will be reflected right now as the approved, and on the commitment side, on the cost side, it will also now be changed to the approved commitment changes. So pretty powerful piece here, and how we do change management. And so I think we're out of time, but I hope you guys got a little bit of understanding of kind of the overall breadth of what ProjectSight can do. And so I thank you for your time, and I'll pass it over to Jesse to see if there's any additional questions.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. Looks like there are no additional questions at this time. So since we're kind of over time right now, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And just as a reminder, there will be an email sent out of this recording. So if you want to go back and reference it, refer to that email. So we hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any additional questions or you want to learn more, feel free to reach out to us or contact us, and we'll be sure to we can show you a further demonstration and answer more questions. So we'll leave with that, and if we could, we'll close with the our closing survey. If you could take a minute to fill that out before we leave, we appreciate it and hope to see you next time. Thank you.